It's the 49ers Cutback.
And every time that it's the offseason, the 49ers are tied to every name in the sun. And this one is no different because the 49ers are tied to two former Shanahan players, Horse. What are you thinking? You think Matt Ryan or Julio Jones could be making a trip to San Francisco soon?
I don't like Matt Ryan. I think he's overrated. Julio Jones I would love to have, but his salary is exorbitant. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst. There's definitely worse quarterbacks they could get, like Kirk Cousins.
Oh.
So I'd prefer Matt Ryan to that. And I wouldn't be like irate if they traded for Matt Ryan, especially the rumor was for a 4th and a 5th. But I don't know that at this stage of his career that he's much better than Jimmy. Maybe if we're talking 5 years ago, when he was like 32, we could have Matt Ryan. But at this stage in his career, I don't know how much he has left. He's definitely slowed down a little bit. Although he did put up big numbers towards the end of last season. So maybe it was coaching issues, game plan issues, scheme issues. Julio Jones, I would love to have. Julio Jones is a fantastic receiver.
Yeah.
But, wow, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. But before we get too far into this, we're going to take a 5-second pause here.
We are.
And we'll let you subscribe to the channel. Wow, I'm so glad that you did that. Thank you so much.
Too.
It really supports and helps the channel out a lot. And now we can dive into this topic of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
Woo!
Guys, this is kind of a big deal because if you know anything about Matt Ryan and the success that he had with Kyle Shanahan, his only MVP season was with Kyle Shanahan at the helm calling the plays. So pairing the two up may lead to the resurgence of Matt Ryan in his career. Horst does not think so at all. You can tell by that look on his face.
He went to Boston College.
He did go to Boston College. I don't know what that has to do with his resurgence under Kyle Shanahan. But Ant, how are you feeling about this? Is there one guy in particular? Are you fine with both? What do you think it's going to cost?
Well, from what I've read, I believe that it's going to cost a 4th and a 5th. Now, here's where it's interesting: is it's going to cost a 4th and a 5th in 2022. So not even this year, because it's a June. After June 1st, they're going to have to make the deal. That's when they save the money. If they make it before then, they don't save the money on the salary cap that they really need. It's a huge cap hit. So a 2022 4th and a 5th. So if they move Jimmy and draft a young quarterback, it doesn't mean that the young quarterback is initially going to start this year. So they might have time to develop if they move June 1st for Matt Ryan. So that is a possibility for him. Julio Jones is a whole other story because I think it's going to take a lot to get him. Do I think Kyle Shanahan would love to have Julio Jones? Of course he would love to have Julio Jones. Because Julio Jones,
course!
Yeah, he's a game changer. He's just a difference maker. And could you imagine Julio Jones with this slate of receivers with George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel? The 49ers offense would be unbelievable. I have weird thoughts in my mind about them possibly making a trade, not just for him, but also for Deshaun Watson, and just blowing everything out of the water. Who cares about the future? Win 2 championships, suck for 20 years. I don't care.
Well, I don't think they'd have to suck for 20 years.
I don't think
5
so
or
either.
6.
But... Well, you knew I wasn't going to leave this conversation alone.
It's true.
Boo this man. Boo.
Horst, how are we feeling about this, man?
This trade doesn't...
That's great content, man.
It doesn't intrigue me like these other trades do. I don't think the Julio Jones thing is feasible because of salary reasons. And I guess I'm not as impressed with Matt Ryan as everyone else. It's my own opinion. Other people might feel different, but I don't think...
I do.
Let me make it very clear that it's at this stage of his career, I don't think he's that great of an improvement. 5 years ago, yes. Now, no.
Matt Ryan.
My thing with this is that with Matt Ryan, it wasn't that long ago that he was MVP caliber.
Right.
And the only thing that's really changed, the only thing that changed during that time was Kyle Shanahan leaving. Yes, I understand that he's gotten older, But I believe that there is more potential there, untapped potential with Matt Ryan, with Kyle, than there was with Dan Quinn. And you guys all know how my thoughts on Dan Quinn. I'm not a big fan of the guy. I don't think he did well as a head coach. He might be a great coordinator, but in terms of running a team and organization, things went completely downhill after that Super Bowl collapse and Shanahan left. I think he was the only thing keeping that offense stable. So I think reinserting him into a stable environment with an offense that he's not only familiar with but has thrived in would bring the best out of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. But again, the question for me is, do I believe that Matt Ryan is that much of an improvement over Jimmy Garoppolo? And I'm not sold on that completely like I am with Deshaun Watson. So for me, you go after a guy like Deshaun Watson first, and if you can't get him, I think it comes down to Shanahan's comfort level with Matt Ryan or with Jimmy Garoppolo. If he has more faith in Matt Ryan and his abilities as a quarterback, you're going to go that direction. If you have more faith in Jimmy, you stay the course that you're on. Julio Jones, as much as I would love it, I just don't think there's any way. As Horst said, feasibly wise, money wise, I don't know if it's possible. If we can find a way to make it work, pull the trigger.
Yeah. With Matt Ryan, too, I think a lot of people forget that when they had Kyle Shanahan, they had such a great run game. Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, they were running fantastic for them, and that's why they were so successful. As soon as Shanahan left, the run game went away. They've tried everything this year. They tried Gurley. It's just not there for them. This poor guy is just sitting back there. And, I mean, he's finding receivers. Calvin Ridley had a great season this year. Julio, when he's in there, he just, does his thing. So I think Matt Ryan's a good quarterback. I think you're right. I'm not sure he's that much of an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo or an upgrade at all. Horst has said that. I'm aware. But if you are ready to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, then this makes sense. But question would be, why would you have to give up a 4th and 5th and trade Jimmy Garoppolo? Couldn't you just trade player for player? Maybe that's something that is, that could happen. But if it could happen, I think they would have probably already discussed it. So I'm not sure it's there. But I think that Atlanta GM is looking to rebuild, which means Julio might need a new contract. I don't think they want to get off that. If they ask him to restructure, he's going to want to leave. So we'll see what happens with Julio Jones. I don't know if that one's a for sure, but I think Matt Ryan might get moved. I just don't know if it's going to be the 49ers.
One question for you. Do you happen to know, and do you know Matt Ryan's salary? Can you ballpark it?
Matt Ryan's salary is very close to Jimmy Garoppolo's.
So high 20s?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if, like you said, if he's more comfortable with Matt Ryan, okay. I get that. And he has more trust in him to make the correct play and all that. But I think it does come down to my reaction earlier. It comes down to that, man, you were telling me Deshaun Watson, and now you're telling me Matt Ryan. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we've seen one guy win a big game, come from behind, and win in college. And we have seen these other two guys that have lost in the Super Bowl come from behind. So that's kind of the difference. There's that it factor with Deshaun Watson that I don't think these two guys really have. I think they're good quarterbacks, solid quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson's at a whole nother level, just with that it factor. And I think in the right system, he would be making everyone think like that he's on the level of Patrick Mahomes. And that's why he's been wasted in Houston. If he could get to the right team, and Kyle Shanahan may be that guy, that's unbelievable. But I think you're right, Horst. I think Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo are pretty comparable. So I'm not sure it's a huge upgrade, unless there was something there that Kyle sees that we don't.
Yeah, and there's a reason he does what he does and we do what we do. So
that's I never got my opportunity.
I know.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Thank you for tuning in for another 49ers news update. Trade rumor scenario. There's plenty out there. There's going to be plenty more to come, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You don't want to miss any of this content. You want to be up to date on what's going on 49ers, and there's no better place than the 49ers Cutback Podcast. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe.
And remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.